Today is not just another date on the calendar. For drivers across the UK, today marks the beginning of something new. New DVLA rules are now live. 3 key changes have officially started, and while they may sound administrative on the surface, their impact reaches into everyday life in ways many people are not yet prepared for. Whether you drive every day or only occasionally, whether your license is new or decades old, these changes affect you. The question is not whether they matter. The question is how soon you will feel them. For many drivers, the road represents freedom, independence, routine, and responsibility all at once. It is how people get to work, how families stay connected, how carers reach those who depend on them, how businesses survive, and how millions simply live their daily lives. When driving rules change, even quietly, the ripple spreads far beyond the vehicle itself. The 3 new DVLA changes that begin today are designed to modernize the system, tighten safety, and strengthen accountability. On paper, that sounds sensible. In real life, it means drivers will notice differences in how licenses are renewed, how medical fitness is assessed, and how offences and conditions are monitored. Some changes will feel small at first. Others could reshape daily routines almost immediately. The first major change affects how driving licenses are managed and renewed. From today, the process becomes far more tightly connected to real-time verification. This means outdated details can trigger delays more quickly than before. Address changes, name updates, and license categories will now be checked more closely against multiple systems. For many drivers, this will pass unnoticed. But for others, especially those who have not updated their details in years, the consequences could arrive as an unexpected interruption. In the past, mistakes often took months to surface. Now they can appear within days. A renewal that once felt automatic may now pause while records are checked. For someone who depends on their car for work, that pause can be devastating. Missed shifts, lost income, stress that builds fast and hits hard. The emotional impact of this change will likely be felt most by people who already live on the edge of financial stability. One small administrative delay can quickly turn into a crisis. That is why today matters. Not because the law sounds dramatic, but because the system behind daily life has shifted quietly beneath everyone's feet. The second major change affects how medical fitness to drive is monitored. From today, medical declarations carry greater weight, and verification is expected to move faster and become more consistent. For years, the system relied heavily on trust and self-reporting. While that trust remains important, the new process strengthens the link between reported conditions and official review. For many drivers, this is reassuring. It means unsafe drivers are more likely to be identified sooner. It means serious conditions are less likely to be ignored. And it means families who worry about loved ones behind the wheel may feel a little less helpless. But for others, this change brings fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being judged unfit too quickly. Fear that a condition they have managed safely for years might suddenly place their independence at risk. For those who live alone, drive in rural areas, or depend on their vehicle for care responsibilities, losing a license feels like losing a lifeline. This is where the law reaches beyond safety and into identity. Driving is not just a skill, it is a symbol of independence. And any rule that threatens that independence, even in the name of safety, will always feel deeply personal. The third major change affects how driving offences and conditions are monitored and acted upon. From today, data sharing between systems becomes faster and more direct. This means offences, penalty points, and restrictions can take effect more quickly than before. The gap between an incident and its official consequence is now much shorter. In practical terms, this means drivers will have less time in a grey area. Where delays once existed, speed now takes their place. This is designed to improve road safety by ensuring that dangerous behaviour is addressed promptly, but it also means that mistakes carry quicker consequences. For drivers already living under pressure, this speed adds a new layer of anxiety. A single lapse in concentration, a moment of exhaustion, a misread speed sign. What once felt like an error that could be dealt with in time may now feel like an instant threat to a license they cannot afford to lose. Together, These three changes create a new reality for drivers. A reality where systems move faster, scrutiny is tighter, and the margin for error feels smaller. For younger drivers, this may simply feel like modernization. For older drivers, it can feel like a tightening net. For professional drivers, it can feel like a sword hanging over daily income. For carers, it can feel like another fragile thread in an already stretched routine. The emotional reaction today will vary wildly across the country. Some will welcome the changes. They will feel reassured that dangerous drivers are being monitored more closely. They will feel protected by tighter systems. They will see this as progress. Others will feel unsettled, watched, judged, pressured by rules they do not fully understand yet. That fear does not come from guilt. It comes from uncertainty. Uncertainty is what makes today so significant. When systems change suddenly, people worry not about the rules themselves, but about what they might have missed. Did I update everything correctly? Is my medical record accurate? Have my details changed without me realizing? Could something from years ago suddenly resurface? These questions grow louder when official language is complex, when forms are online, and when call lines feel unreachable. For drivers who are confident with technology, these changes may feel manageable. For those who are not, they may feel overwhelming. The gap between those two experiences is widening quietly, and that gap is becoming one of the most important hidden consequences of the new rules. There is also a deeper generational tension under the surface of these changes. Younger drivers grew up with constant updates, apps that change overnight, rules that refresh automatically. They adapt quickly. Many older drivers grew up in a world where rules stayed stable for decades, where paperwork changed slowly, where driving felt like a right, earned once and held for life. Today's changes challenge that belief directly. No license now feels permanent in the way it once did. Everything feels conditional, monitored, subject to review. That shift alone can be unsettling, even for confident drivers. There is also a fear that today is only the beginning, that these three changes are the first phase of a much larger transformation. Some drivers worry that increased monitoring will eventually lead to automated restrictions, that telematics could become mandatory, that flexibility will shrink further. Whether those fears are justified or not, the emotional response they create is real. Families will feel the impact too. Parents discussing driving with adult children, partners worrying about each other's health and safety, carers wondering what happens if the person they care for suddenly cannot drive. All of these conversations will quietly grow more urgent after today. The truth is that driving has never been just about transport. It has always been tied to identity, routine, income, and social connection. Any rule that touches it will always feel bigger than the rule itself. The DVLA says these changes are about safety, and safety matters. Every year, lives are lost on the roads. Families are changed forever. No rule can undo those losses, but rules can reduce the risk that more will follow. At the same time, safety should never come at the cost of compassion. A balanced system protects both the public and the individual. It recognizes not just risk, but humanity. The challenge ahead will be whether these new rules can hold that balance. For drivers watching this today, the most important message is not one of fear, it is one of awareness. Check your details. Make sure your address and name are correct. Review any conditions attached to your license. Be honest about your health, not because you expect to lose your license, but because transparency protects you far more than silence ever could. If you are worried about medical fitness, seek clarity early. Do not wait until an emergency forces your hand. If paperwork confuses you, ask for help. There is no shame in needing guidance when systems grow complex. If you rely on your car for work, plan ahead. Keep records, know your rights. And never assume that what worked last year will automatically work this year. For families, today is a reminder to talk, not confront, not accuse. Talk, listen. Ask how driving feels. Ask what support might look like if things change. These conversations are far easier before a crisis than during one. Society as a whole now faces a choice in how it responds to these changes. We can treat them purely as enforcement, or we can treat them as part of a broader conversation about mobility, independence, and support. If people lose the ability to drive, what replaces it? Reliable transport, affordable taxis, community drivers, carer support. Without these, rules risk creating isolation rather than safety. Driving laws shape far more than roads. They shape lives. Today, those lives enter a new phase of scrutiny, speed, and accountability. For some, that brings reassurance. For others, tension. Both responses are valid. What matters now is not panic. It is preparation, not resistance, but understanding, not silence, but conversation. Because these three new rules are not just about what you do behind the wheel. They are about how you live with change in a world that is moving faster than ever, and how you protect your independence while adapting to that speed. Outro. Today's new DVLA rules mark a turning point for every driver in the UK. 3 changes. 1 message. The road ahead is changing, whether we feel ready or not. But readiness does not come from fear. It comes from awareness, honesty, and preparation. The rules may shape how we drive, but they do not define who we are. And as long as independence, safety, and dignity remain part of the conversation, the journey forward does not have to be one of loss. It can be one of adaptation, confidence, and continued freedom on changing roads.